Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan here with a story that's near and dear and close to my heart. This story is from the Cornell Daily Sun, and I used to go, not to Cornell University, but to Ithaca College, which is right up the hill. And if you've read my book, Wokeistan, a novel, co written, of course, by the great Christian Baranek, you know, or you may know, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it now. I based Upstate College on Ithaca College. I described the layout of the college exactly as it was when I went there in the 80s. And I also described the college experience and a little bit of downtown, very similar to the layout in Ithaca. And, I also told the story of how Kurt Vonnegut came to campus one time and he actually chastised the audience for not being political. He said, I've never been to a campus where I've seen no political stuff going on. And it was true. There was nothing going on. And then we had like this anemic, I wasn't even there, but there was an anemic sort of South African protest against apartheid the day after he left. And then nothing. Nothing for the 4 years I was there. But now it's all trendy. This is the Cornell Daily Sun, and this is I could tell it looks like it's downtown. Back the Blue rally at Ithaca Commons. Yeah, well, the old Commons, another thing I described in Wokeistan, met with hundreds of counter protesters. Oh, and this story has been updated. Oh, geez, I wonder if they changed something. So Orwellian. Back the Blue. Why are you counter-protesting Back the Blue? Back the Blue is a rally to support the police. So what? When I first started seeing, signs and ribbons for Blue Lives Matter, I went, well, whatever. Being a libertarian, I'm very much aware of police corruption, brutality, whatever you want to call it. But I wouldn't protest it. I mean, those are just people. Most of them are families of people who are cops and in the law enforcement. I see no reason to counter protest them. The only time I thought something needed to be done was when Blue Lives Matter was pushing for a law that would, attacks against the cops would be considered a hate crime. That to me was a step too far. It's already an incredible crime to attack a police officer, so I felt that was incredibly redundant. But here you have these college students. Oh, we're gonna counter protest Back the Blue, and you can imagine the types who came out. So let's read a little bit of this story. Black-clad counter-protesters filled the Ithaca Commons Saturday, toting signs and chanting slogans of Black Lives Matter in response to the Back the Blue rally scheduled for later that afternoon. What does one have to do with the other? Okay? Just because you're black and you're first off, Black Lives Matter, you're a bunch of Marxists. And everybody, I'm sure, in Ithaca and Cornell knows that. That's half the reason these people joined, is to get in on the communism. So what is anti-black about Back the Blue? Nothing. There are black police officers. There are people who, need the help of police officers who are black. They're not. These two are not unaligned. It's that Black Lives Matter has become completely tainted by Marxism and communism, and Joan's very upset, and they want to tear it all down. Tear it all down. Okay, you could try, but you're not going to succeed. By 2 p.m., a black American flag with a blue stripe, the Blue Lives Matter symbol, had been unfurled in front of around 50 demonstrators on the west side of the Commons. The rally had begun. On the other side of the Commons, yes, Joan, I'm reading. The number of counter-protesters in the competing demonstration swelled to fill Bernie Milton Pavilion since beginning to filter in at 11 a.m., the original intended location for the Back the Blue rally. Here's some police officers on the rooftop building overlooking the Commons. That looks like the Ramada Hotel downtown. But by 2:45 p.m., tensions escalated as the Back the Blue rally goers marched down the Commons to confront the approximately 250-person Black Lives Matter protest. I guarantee you 90% of them are college students and or people who were college students very recently. Where we are right now is almost a state of soft civil war, said Rocco Lucente, the organizers of Back the Blue rally, to the crowd holding American flags and Blue Lives Matter signs at the west end of the Common. The clash ended by 4:30 p.m., leaving only one Back the Blue member, the only one of the group who actually resides in Ithaca, according to him. "This is my home," he said to the protesters, telling him to go home. There were many police officers, and hey, that's a misleading statement right there. You're saying, oh, these were all out-of-towners. They're probably all townies, as we called them, meaning that they didn't live in Ithaca proper. But you're telling me all those college students lived in Ithaca? Those people are not local. The Black Lives Matter, they're not local. They're recent transplants at best. They're college students. Let's see. What is this? This is October. School's in session. College students. And the ones that aren't college students are the ones that move to Ithaca because that's what happens. You fall in love with college town, you never want to leave. I had the same thought too. A lot of my friends did, and a few of them stayed. A few of them stayed in Ithaca for a few years at least. Then you realize, this is not the same. It was only fun because you had all your friends there. All right, Joan. I know you're angry at the communists, but geez, you're ruining the whole bit. There you go. Okay. Just calm down. Just calm down. This is my college, Joan. Yeah, this is where I went to college in the 80s. That was a long time ago, way before Doggy was alive. Doggy's only 6. Doggy, you're such a mess. You're such a mess. Just like colleges now. Just like colleges. So, and you can see here you've got the Antifa flags. There's not a clear shot of them, but I recognize the colors, and you can see anti-fascist around the circle. And so this is all Antifa or Antifa wannabes. You got no KKK. What does that have to do with Blue Lives Matter? There were many police officers present at the protest. As always, they're there to keep the peace. Officers covered street corners, blanketed the Commons, and perched themselves on overlooking rooftops. Black Lives Matter protesters directed their chants towards a group of Back the Blue supporters. This was the strategy from the outset, according to Cornell Abolitionist Revolutionary Society organizer Nadia Vitek, 23, who hoped to de-escalate tensions with the police and prove that community-based protections actually work. Oh, so you come to a Back the Blue rally to cause tension, and that's how you prove it? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Vic said she was pepper sprayed by the Ithaca Police Department officers while peacefully protesting Thursday outside department headquarters. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? You Antifa types, you're all a bunch of liars, so I don't know if I believe that. CARS is a student-led organization that aims to abolish the Cornell University Police Department, divest from prisons, and invest in transformative solutions to policing. In other words, Minneapolis, which is currently in chaos, along with the Ithaca Pantheras. What the hell are the Pantheras? And the Tompkins County Democratic Socialist, of course. CARS was heavily involved in setting up counter-protest. Quote, "We're not going to be antagonizing the cops," Vict said. "If we were to say that the cops and the Klan go hand in hand, they're just going to get pissed off and start supporting the Proud Boys." Well, what is this then? Black Lives Matter comes up with no KKK. Organizers enforced this principle. At one point, a small group of protesters started chanting "No good cops and a racist system before they were quickly stopped by Ithaca Panthera's leaders. You guys don't have any control. None. Zero. You think you're due. It's all BS anyway. You're only telling them to calm down for now. Right? Because you know the real goal. The real goal is to get rid of the cops and the prison systems and to get communism. Because all the problems you're going to cause by tearing apart the law enforcement community, you'll say, oh, we have the solution. The revolution. And no one's going to get killed this time. It's sad. I just can't imagine the streets of Ithaca flooded with people who actually give a crap about politics. I mean, I went there in the mid '80s. All my classmates wanted to do was get drunk, all the time. It was like, hey, party, woo! That was it. I was the only one who was interested in that kind of crap. I was the only one like reading books and going to class and saying, no, I don't drink, dude. Like, everybody else was like, oh, we're having a pass-out party, dude. I'm like, what's that? Oh, you drink until you pass out. Sounds stupid. I'm not going to go. But, that was the 80s. Now all those people are in charge, I guess. They're all the Gen X sellouts who run the media. And they're perfectly willing to give these people a platform. And, portray the Back the Blue. I mean, and here's the ridiculous thing. If they just let the Back the Blue rally happen, it just would have happened. It would have been a tiny news story. Instead, look at this. Look at this news story. It's massive. It's massive. Look how big this article is. This is a big article. And you're lucky this didn't erupt into a riot. The counter-protesters counted on high levels of coordination for the event. Why? There were 50 people at the Back the Blue. Who cares? Let them They weren't even protesting. They were just there to support the police. They're probably all townies who don't go to college, mostly. A handful of the campus conservatives who were like, they were practically non-existent on my campus, but people went after them all the time. Like they were the devil. And I was trying to do something for a journalism class. I was trying to come up with a story. And I said, well, let me go to the conservatives were having some sort of speaker. And I said, let me go and I'll see what the big hubbub is about. And I went, and maybe 12 people showed up to the whole thing. It was mostly just the conservatives. And then a handful of leftists showed up to make trouble. And it was just pathetic. It was just pathetic. It was like, let the guy speak. I just left because it just was boring to me. But that was me back in the day, like my attention span of a fruit fly. Now it's even worse, actually, thanks to the internet. Thank you, internet. Before the Back the Blue members marched to confront Black Lives Matter protesters. See, that's a weird framing, too. They were there to have a rally. The Black Lives Matter protesters were there to confront them. They were the counter-protesters. When you counter-protesters, you're there to confront them. And in my mind, Back the Blue was not a protest. It was a support rally. When you protest, you're against something. So this is ridiculous. 50 people come down and say, yay, we like cops. And you people organized 5-1 against them to say, no, we don't like cops. You're racist. Oh, but you made sure you ran around and told those people, like, oh, don't say that. Yeah, don't say that now. I think it's gone as good as it could be planned, Osborne said as the rally wound down. I see both sides talking with each other, and I think it's a good thing. Well, that is a good thing if it actually happened. Sounds like they were just yelling at each other. And it sounds like you were just surrounding these people, making them feel persecuted. Yeah, that's going to get you a lot of votes for Biden, won't it? Without the police, we don't have the ability to resolve our differences without citizens escalating to force themselves, Lucente said. The police are supposed to be the neutral moderator who allow us to settle these views and protect all of our rights from those who would encroach upon them. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. Sometimes they do it. Lucente was ardent in his position that the Black Lives Matter protesters encroached on his rights and said the event may be attacked by a mob of Antifa counter-protesters. He said he had been tipped off by city insiders that the counter-protesters intended to use violence at the rally. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's Antifa, yeah, sure. While no violence had occurred, yeah, as far as you know, the prelude to the demonstration had been marked by growing tensions between right and left-wing protesters. Dueling protests on October 16th led to a confrontation at the Tompkins County Republican headquarters, which had turned violent. On October 22nd, Ithaca police arrested 6 protesters and pepper sprayed many more outside police headquarters in response to a demonstration against 3 arrests made earlier that afternoon. Antifa loosely refers to groups of Americans protesting increasingly authoritarian tendencies of the U.S. government and systems of racism. No, that's untrue. That's a completely untrue statement in my view. Antifa is not a group of Americans protesting increasing authoritarian tendencies of the U.S. government. They are authoritarian. They are. And their protest of systems of racism, that's a front. They don't actually believe in that. They're a bunch of racists. That's been proven time and time again. I mean, you could just go on YouTube and see videos all day long of Antifa guys saying the most racist things I've ever heard. They've attacked, people of color, as cops, and just people who don't agree with them. They stabbed that conservative guy in, was either Seattle or Portland, and just stabbed him. Look at this guy. Yeah, you shouldn't do this stuff, dude. That's the kind of stuff. See, the moment you do that, they get a picture of it. Yeah, that ends up in the picture. Lisa Bagliaro, an Ithaca resident, led Black Lives Matter chants in front of the group's signs in front of the Back the Blue protesters. She shared that she did not feel safe and that she was shocked at the tensions of the event in her community. It's kind of blowing my mind, Bagliaro said. It's emotional. Well, I wonder why. I mean, you've got them outnumbered 5-1, and you're afraid. Egan Hyatt, first-year law student, attended after reading that the protest was occurring in a group chat. She said she was worried about her safety from both threats of officers and the Back the Blue protesters. Yeah, everybody's afraid, even though they're outnumbered 5-1. As the cold set in, 2 lively dance circles formed at each end of the pavilion among the Black Lives Matter and the protesters. Panthera's organizers declared victory, and the protesters came together as one to dance one last time to the late Pop Smoke's Dior before dispersing prior to dusk. Look at that. Ithaca. I can't believe it. Center Ithaca. Psh. It's changed. It's changed. Can't go back. Yeah, that's downtown. That's the Commons. That looks like where the comic book store used to be. I think that's probably long gone. But yeah, it's just changed. It's just changed, and you've got these college students. You know, back in my day, it wasn't cool to do this stuff, so nobody did it. They were too busy reenacting Animal House in every dorm. Now it's cool to do this. It's cool to be a protester. It's cool to be a revolutionary, man. Yeah, we're gonna fight the system, man. Except they're not hippies, you know. When the hippies were cool, they just smoked a lot of pot and ran around in their bare feet. Now look at these guys. They're backing organizations that are supported by the biggest corporations in the world. That's the ironic thing, right? You know, at least the hippies, they were very anti-corporate. They were sort of go their own way kind of thing. They weren't really controlled by corporations. You might say that they were probably indirectly funded by communist groups because, you know, communists are very collective that way, but it's not really a cabal, more like that Antifa, loose organization kind of concept. But these kids, they're being manipulated by the biggest corporations in the world. They're left though. They're left. They love corporatism. They'd love to see a revolution where Jeff Bezos and all the billionaires get all their money taken. They're living in a delusion. Those guys, you can't touch them. You can't touch him. Look how corrupt Biden is. You can't touch him. Look at the way his son has acted. And this has been going on for years. And you think, oh, we're going to go in the streets and scream at people. Well, that'll help. Helps nothing. If you put half the energy into your trendy protest, into learning about history and politics, into actually doing something through the system, maybe getting people to vote, running for office yourself, learning things about economics, real economics, Austrian economics, then you'd be able to do some real damage. I bet if you protested at the Federal Reserve, then you'd see the real hand, the hand of the corporate people who you supposedly protest. Then you'd see violence. You'd see real oppression. But you don't have the guts or the knowledge to go protest in front of the Federal Reserve. You're idiots.